The score predictions are back. Woohoo! What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this week is FA Cup action. So I'm going to give you guys my score predictions on the FA Cup matches. Despite some of these teams being really good, some of these teams being really bad at the moment, sometimes when it comes to the cup games, form does go out the window sometimes. So sometimes we'll get some winners that you don't even expect to happen this week. But I'm going to be predicting every single match that's happening in the FA Cup third round this week. So I'm only going to give you guys a really tiny bit of explanation on some of these matches, because come on, there's like 32 odd matches going on, so I can't really have like a long explanation with all of these matches. So I'm just going to give you a really quick explanation on some of these and just give you guys a straight score prediction. Before we get into the predictions, guys, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. We are on the road to 200 subscribers. We are so close. We are literally like 30 subscribers away from them. So do get involved. It does really help. And yeah, let's get straight into the predictions. Okay, so the first one up, Sheffield United versus Cardiff. Both in the Championship right now. Sheffield United doing really good. Cardiff, not so great. They need to focus on trying to stay up. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Sheffield United. Next up, Everton versus Peterborough United. Everton doing alright in the Premier League despite their placement. They're like 16th, but they're doing quite okay. Peterborough, really concerned about them in the league, in League One, but I think they'll be fine. But I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Everton. Next up, Fulham versus Watford. I think Fulham will rotate, but I still think they'll have a bit too much quality for Watford. Watford actually doing alright in the Championship, so they might give this one a good go. But I think it'll be a close match, but I'm still going to edge Fulham. Fulham 2-1 for me. Next up, Wycombe Wanderers versus Portsmouth. Now, as much as I'm a Saints fan, I would love to see Portsmouth get knocked out in this one. I do think they'll give this one a good go. Wycombe doing really well in League One. This was a tough one to call, but because I'm a Saints fan, I'm deliberately going to put bias into it. I'm going to go 1-1, but Wycombe Wanderers win on penalties. Next up, the first of the Premier League matchups. It's really surprising seeing some Premier League matches happening this early. It's Aston Villa versus West Ham. I think both of them will rotate because they both need to try and do well in the Premier League. But I think I'm going to edge Aston Villa because they're really good at Villa Park, and this game is at Villa Park. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Aston Villa. Next up, an all League One match. It's Birmingham City versus Lincoln City. Birmingham currently sitting top of League One. Lincoln City falling off just a little bit, but I still think they're okay. But I'm going to edge Birmingham 2-1. Next up, Bristol City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think this match will be really good. You know, it's a Championship side versus a Premier League side. You always expect these sort of matches to be really good. But I'm going to edge Wolves being the Premier League side. I'm going to edge them 3-1. Now, the next match is a really good one. It's Middlesbrough versus Blackburn Rovers. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. I think both will rotate because they both want to try and get into the playoffs of the Championship, seeing as they're both really close to it. I do think Blackburn will give this one a good go. Their form has tailed off a little bit, but they drew against Leeds the last time they were away from home. Middlesbrough doing alright in the Championship now. They're currently sitting in the playoff positions. So this one's very, very difficult to call. I'd love to see both of them go through, but of course they won't do. Only one of them can win. And as much as I like Blackburn and I like Middlesbrough as well, but I'm going to edge Middlesbrough 2-1. I think it will be pretty close. Next up is the first of the pretty mismatched matches, as you might say. It's Liverpool versus Accrington Stanley. Now, Accrington Stanley, I think they'll take a few to Anfield. I think it'll be their first time at Anfield, to be fair. Liverpool currently sitting top of the Premier League. Arne Slot is doing absolute wonders with them. They are incredible this season. I'm sorry, Accrington fans, but I'm going to go pretty heavy here. I'm going to go Liverpool 5, Accrington Stanley 0. Next up, we go to the King Power Stadium as Leicester City host Queen's Park Rangers. Now, this is an interesting one. Leicester currently struggling in the Premier League under Ruud van Nistelrooy. Queen's Park Rangers have hit a little bit of form in the Championship under Cifuentes. I think QPR look really good now. They look such a good team. They've now got a Southampton player there in Ronnie Edwards, so I think he'll do really well for them. Not sure if he'll start for QPR in this one though. He might do because it's his first or second game there at QPR. But I'm going to edge Leicester, but I think it'll be really close. I'm going to say 1-1, but Leicester win on penalties. Next up, we go to the South Coast in the Vitality Stadium. It's Bournemouth versus West Bromwich Albion. Now, this is a good one. West Brom doing okay in the Championship. They're currently sitting in the playoff positions again. Bournemouth, though, absolutely flying in the Premier League. They're doing really, really well under Iraola. I do think Bournemouth are the favourites in this one just because of how good they're doing in the Premier League. West Brom, I think they'll give Bournemouth a really good game. They've won this competition quite a few times already. But I think Bournemouth, considering the form they're in, they want to try it and win it because this will be their very first major trophy if they do end up winning the whole thing. I'm going to edge Bournemouth, but I think it'll be a good game. I'm going to say 1-0 to Bournemouth. Next up, we go to G-Tech Stadium. It's Brentford versus Plymouth Argyle. Brentford coming off the back of a 5-0 win against my team, Southampton. But well done, Brentford. Plymouth went away to Stoke and got a good 0-0 draw there. If this was at a home park, Plymouth Stadium, I think this match will be a lot closer. But I'm going to back Brentford. I'm going to say 2-0 to Brentford. I think Brentford will rotate, but they'll still win. Next up then is another mismatch. It's Chelsea versus Morecambe. Chelsea doing okay under Maresca. Their form's tailed off a little bit, but I still think they'll have way too much for Morecambe. Morecambe currently sitting second from bottom in League 2, so they really need to try and stay up. But either way, even if Morecambe were still 8 points above their drop zone, I still think Chelsea will have a bit too much for Morecambe. And I'm going to be even more heavier here. I'm going to go with a heavy defeat for Morecambe. Sorry, Morecambe fans. I'm going to go Chelsea 6, Morecambe 0. The next match then is an interesting one. It's Exeter City versus Oxford United. Both teams doing okay in their leagues at the moment. Exeter doing alright in League 1. Oxford United picking up some very good form under their new manager. I think this match will be close. Exeter do tend to do quite well at home. Oxford United picked up their first away win against Millwall a few days ago. So I'm going to back Oxford, but I think it'll be really, really close. I'm going to go with a Desmond, so 2-2, but Oxford United win on penalties. Next up, we go to Carrow Road as Norwich City host Brighton. This could be a good match. I think Brighton will rotate because they're doing quite well in the Premier League. Norwich doing alright in the Championship. They're not at their best at the moment, but they picked up a very good win against Coventry. They came from behind to win that match. So I do think Norwich will give Brighton a good game. I think it'll be close. Brighton are definitely the favourites because of how well they're doing in the Premier League. But sometimes in these cup matches, you have a surprise. And I'm going to go for that surprise in this one. I'm going to go Norwich 2, Brighton 1. Next up then, we've got Nottingham Forest versus Luton Town. Now for me, for this one, Nottingham Forest will definitely rotate. Luton's away form this season has been absolutely atrocious. I don't think they've won a single away game so far this season. I do believe they've either picked up a point or they haven't won a single one. They haven't picked up a single point away from home this season. I think this is a very good opportunity for Nottingham Forest to score 4 goals in one match so far this season. I'm going to go Nottingham Forest 4, Luton Town 0. What do you guys think on that one? Next we go to Deepdale as Preston North End host Charlton Athletic. Do you think this one will be a good match? Preston doing alright in the Championship now. They've picked up some good form. Charlton doing quite well in League One. And I think I'm going to throw in another surprise. I do think Preston are really good, but sometimes you just have a team surprise you in these cup competitions. So I'm going to go 1-1, but Charlton win on penalties. What do you guys think on that one? Next up, we've got Reading versus Burnley. Reading still doing okay in League One. They're currently sitting inside the playoff picture. Burnley, of course, they're doing really well in the Championship. I'm not going to go for a surprise here, as much as I'd love to see Reading go through because I like their club. I do see Burnley winning this. I'm going to go with 3-1 to Burnley. Next up, we go to the Stadium of Light as Sunderland host Stoke City. Now, it's another Championship matchup, so I think this match will be pretty good. Stoke recently have picked up some good form in the Championship. Sunderland, of course, they're doing really well in the Championship as well. Now, when it comes to these sort of competitions, Stoke do tend to take good wins off of good teams. Like in the Carabao Cup earlier this season, I believe they went and beat Middlesbrough 5-0, which was absolutely insane. Did not see that one coming at all. But I think Sunderland being in very good form, I'm going to edge them. So I'm going to say 2-1 win for Sunderland. Next we go to yet another mismatch. It's Leeds United versus Harrogate Town. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do think Leeds will win this one quite comfortably. They're currently sitting top of the Championship, doing really well, like always. And Harrogate Town really struggling in League 2. So I don't see anything but a Leeds win here. I'm going to go with Leeds 4, Harrogate Town 0. Next up, we go to the Etihad, and it's another mismatch. It's Manchester City versus Salford City. Now, Salford City are actually doing quite well in League 2. They're currently sitting in the automatic places in third place. But you go to Manchester City, and Manchester City have started to hit some really good form like they have been over the past few years now again. So I do see nothing but a Man City win. If Salford City come here and get a win, that'll be plastered all over the internet, let's be honest. But I think it will be Man City this time. I'm going to say Manchester City 5, Salford City 0. Next up, we go to the CBS as Coventry host Sheffield Wednesday. It's another Championship matchup. Lots of teams facing each other who are in the same league this round, aren't there? Coventry really struggling in the Championship at the moment. They're really struggling to find consistency. Sheffield Wednesday doing really well under Danny Roll. They've also got a Southampton player in Shay Charles. Apparently Southampton want to bring him back to the club, but I don't know why. I think he still needs the whole season at Sheffield Wednesday before he comes back to us. But anyway, that's nothing to do with this. I'm going to go with Sheffield Wednesday because they're in a bit more form than Coventry at the moment. I'm going to give Coventry a goal, but Sheffield Wednesday go through to me. I'm going to go with Sheffield Wednesday 2, Coventry 1. Really interesting matchup next. It's Leyton Orient versus Derby County. Now, Derby County are the favourites for this one, but Leyton Orient in League 1 are doing really, really well. I think Derby need to focus on staying up in the Championship. Still think they'll give this one a good go, though, because it's Derby County. But I'm going to go with a surprise. As much as I like Derby this season, and I think they'll stay up, I do think Leyton Orient, with their form, could do really well here and go through. So I'm going to say Leyton Orient 1, Derby 0. Next up is an all League One matchup. It's Mansfield Town hosting Wigan Athletic. Mansfield Town doing really well in League One. They've just beaten Stockport County at Stockport as well, I believe it was. And Wigan Athletic, very inconsistent in League One. They'll win some and then they'll lose some. I'm going to go with Mansfield here. I think I like them more than Wigan at the moment with their form. I'm going to go Mansfield 2, Wigan 1. Next up, we've got Hull City versus Doncaster Rovers. Hull City struggling in the Championship, so I do think they need to focus on staying up. Doncaster doing quite well in League 2. They're currently sitting inside the playoff picture. Do think they'll have a really good chance of going up this season. I'm going to go with Hull City though. Bit of a class difference here. But I do think Doncaster will give this one a good go, but I'm going to edge Hull City 2-1. Next up, we go to another mismatch. It's Tamworth versus Tottenham Hotspur. Tamworth sitting in the National League. I believe they're the only National League team. Oh no, they're one of two National League teams in this cup competition so far. You've got Dagenham and Redbridge later on, but Tamworth are probably the lowest out of all the teams because Dagenham and Redbridge are higher than Tamworth in the National League. Tottenham Hotspur, we know that they're a very strong side despite their inconsistency sometimes, but I do think Tottenham will win this. I think Tamworth will take a lot of fans to this one because they'll all want to see Tottenham, but I'm going to go with Tottenham 5, Tamworth 0. Next up, we've got the big one. It's Arsenal versus Manchester United at the Emirates. This is really interesting. One of these massive teams are going out this early, and I think it might be Manchester United. Despite them having a really good 2-2 draw against Liverpool at Anfield over the weekend, I do think Man United do need to focus on climbing up the table. I think Man United fans might agree with that one. I'm going to edge Arsenal. Despite them going out to Newcastle yesterday, I do think they will win this one. Man United need to focus on going up the table. So I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Man United 1. Okay, next up we go to Selhurst Park. It's an interesting one. It's Crystal Palace versus Stockport County. I do think Stockport will take a few fans to Selhurst Park this weekend. Despite Stockport doing really well in League One, I do think Crystal Palace will rotate but still do quite well in this match. So I'm going to go Crystal Palace 3, Stockport County 1. Next up, we go to Portman Road as Ipswich Town hosts Bristol Rovers. Ipswich Town doing alright in the Premier League. They got a good 2-2 draw against Fulham over the weekend. Bristol Rovers struggling in League One. Now, I know sometimes you'll get a surprise in the FA Cup, but I just don't see it in this one. Sorry, Bristol Rovers fans. I'm going to go a little bit heavy here. I'm going to go Ipswich Town 4, Bristol Rovers 0. Next up is another mismatch, as some of you might say. We go to St James's Park as Newcastle United host the newcomers to the EFL, Bromley. Now, I do expect Bromley to take a few fans to St James's Park. It's like a dream for some Bromley fans to go up to that stadium. So, fair play to whoever is going up to the St James's Park out of all the Bromley fans. But I do think Newcastle will win this one. I think Newcastle will rotate, but they'll beat Bromley 5-0. Next up then we go to St Mary's Stadium, and I will be going to this one. It's Southampton versus Swansea City. Now, this will be my first time witnessing Swansea at the stadium, so I'm really looking forward to this one. The reason why I couldn't see Swansea last season was because I was on holiday whilst we were winning 5-0 at home to Swansea. So this time I get to see them, and hopefully I can get some fans on the camera for that one. Southampton, this is an opportunity for us to get a win. We need a win desperately, so we've got some fighting power going into the next few games in the Premier League, hopefully. Swansea, I do think they'll give us a good go. Southampton not in the best of form at all. Swansea doing okay in the Championship. But with my Southampton heart, I'm going to go with a Saints win. I'm going to go Southampton 3, Swansea 1. And the final match then, we go to the Den as Millwall host Dagenham and Redbridge. Dagenham and Redbridge, the second non-league team in this cup competition. Millwall doing okay in the Championship. They're a bit inconsistent though. They win some and they'll lose some, but I do think they will win this match here. Dagenham and Redbridge is a bit of a local team for them, so I think they'll take a few to the Den. I'm going to go with a Millwall win. I'm going to say 3-0 to Millwall. So then, guys, that wraps up my FA Cup third round predictions. I hope you've all enjoyed. Please feel free to leave your comments. Feel free to leave your predictions down in the comments below. And please feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys.